So sometimes we want people to be something that they just aren't. Not because they're bad people, not because they don't care, but because who they are and what we need just does not align. And a lot of the times it comes from loving who we think someone could be instead of who they've actually shown us that they are. Because we see the potential. We see that friend that sometimes shows up, that family member who sometimes supports, that person who gives you just enough effort to make you think, maybe things are finally really changing, when really it's not. So we hold on. We keep trying. We keep reasoning within ourselves, giving chances, lowering standards, hoping that eventually it'll feel different. But then you really realize that no, it's not. Because you can't force consistency out of inconsistent people. You can't force communication from people who avoid hard conversations. And you can't force emotional depth from people who shut down. And you can't force people to care the same way that you care. And one of the hardest lessons is realizing that you've been pulling from an empty well. You've been trying to pull something out of people that just does not exist within them. You're wanting loyalty from inconsistent people. You're wanting support from people who only know how to take. You're wanting maturity from people who just aren't there yet. And after a while, it makes it hard because we see those few glimpses. And then we begin to be hopeful. But hope can blur things quite a bit. The more we realize it, the more we see. Because you start holding on to potential instead of patterns. You start focusing on moments instead of consistency. And you start building relationships around future versions of people who may never actually exist. See, people can change, people can grow. But you can't build a healthy relationship on someone that might become someone someday. And at some point, constantly wishing people were different just becomes exhausting. Because now you're not really accepting them, you're trying to reshape them. And that's where it can really start to hurt. Especially when you begin really grieving relationships that are still technically in your life. That friendship that you thought was so much deeper. The support you thought would be there. The connection you thought was mutual. But peace starts to come when you stop trying to turn people into projects. When you stop thinking, if I explain it a little bit better, if I love a little harder, if I wait a little bit longer. Because people are already giving everything they're capable of giving. So that real question becomes, if this person and this relationship stayed exactly the same for the next 5, 10 years, would I still want this relationship? Whether it's friends, family, a partner? Because that answer tells you everything you need to know. Because sometimes the closer isn't them changing. It's you finally seeing things for what they are and seeing things clearly.